Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Field of 68's last call.
What's your go-to Applebee's order?
I don't go to Applebee's. We actually call it Crapplebee's, to be honest.
Who's the better team right now, Creighton, Marquette, or UConn?
Con.
What are you doing? What is that? Pray for Fanta. Oh, come on, Zach. Here we go. It's last call. It is last call. And there will be no quarterback shrines of any sort on this show because in Flacco we trust, Chris Mack. Oh, my God.
Yes, sir. Jake the Snake Browning, baby.
Oh, come on. Come on. You don't actually believe that.
Are you kidding? I would take him over Flacco. Come on, man. Have you seen his numbers?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've seen Joe's. He threw for 300 plus this past week against the Jaguars, although Browning did that too. All right, let's get to your questions here, folks. This is Stadium's last call, a Field of 68 collaboration. It's last call. We're with you for the next 27 minutes. We're taking your questions. Let's kick it off. John asks, and McCall, this is for you. What to make of Bronny's debut and the attention that he gets?
I mean, every single thing he does is scrutinized, right? I mean, the cameras, he gets on the floor, the tweets. I mean, Bronny just took his warm-up off, and there's a gazillion tweets on your phone. Bronny just entered the game. There's a gazillion tweets on the phone. I think you have to manage expectations for him, because, one, it's a lot for him, and his dad is one of the best to ever do it in terms of dealing with expectations at such a young age. But for him to go through what he went through, and now, no matter what he does, or he's in warm-ups, or he took a cup of water, it's just not tweeting and everything. It's like, Andy can deal with that too, with his team. And that's going to be another dimension for that program to deal with. The top a couple games, and Bronny's only playing 15 minutes. So why is he not in the game? What are we doing? What's he doing? I think it's a lot for an 18-year-old kid to deal with. He's one of the best to ever do it in terms of dealing with that. He's one of the best players to ever play the game. But for Bronny, I just think everyone needs to make that, because every single move he makes, it is social media, Twitter, this, that, and the other. And we're talking about a guy that over the summer, we didn't even know if he'd play the game this year. And he's out there. I just think everyone just needs to understand it's going to take some time before he's able to be at the highest level. But it's just, I think it's a lot for him to deal with. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think the heart issue and certainly the cardiac arrest has probably in an unintentional way taken a lot of pressure off a very pressure-laden situation. I mean, I can't imagine, how much just the attention and like, Matt says, just everything that he does is evaluated, but at least it's being evaluated now through where it should be, through the lens of, hey, listen, it's going to take a while. It always takes a while for most freshmen, but now you add in the fact that, 4 months ago, they weren't sure if he was going to play again. He obviously has the ultimate role model in terms of handling expectations. His dad's been in the spotlight since he's been 16 years old and has handled it incredibly well, no matter what you think of LeBron. Never been in trouble, never ever given any type of reason that he's not, who he says he is. And so it's got a great role model in that. But, I've just been really impressed with Bronny, because I think when early on he was talked about a lot as a sophomore, like, oh, he's going to be this and that. And then it really didn't hit that mark as a junior in high school. And there were a lot of people saying he was trending the wrong way. But for him to have the type of improvement that he made between his junior and senior year, and to have the type of senior year that he did, I think says a lot about his competitive character, his work ethic, and who he is as a player, regardless of his dad. So I'm really intrigued to see how he progresses throughout the year. Obviously, again, the cardiac situation is something that puts even, it makes it even more difficult for him because not only is he adjusting to college basketball, I'm sure that's in the back of his mind. So I'm really impressed so far with who he is as a player and excited to sort of watch his career unfold.
Great stuff, John. Great question. I'm with you guys. I think that we can't overreact. It's human nature, it's social media nature to react to every little thing. Let's let this kid breathe and just settle in a little bit. And I do look at USC losing to Long Beach State. Like, that team's got talent, and Andy Enfield's a really good coach. Distractions are distractions, though. These are kids, and I do wonder about the whole nature of the locker room. Not because of Bronny. I'm not blaming him. I just think sometimes we got to take a step back and remember this kid had his life flash before his eyes over the summer. God bless him. God bless him that he's okay. But why we're breaking down every move he makes in a basketball game? I get it. Yeah,
it's the way of the world, man. Way of the world.
Yeah, 1,000%.
All right, Andrew asks, can we talk about my column about Sparty? So I wrote a column today for FoxSports.com about Michigan State. 4-5 start to the season. It matches the worst start by a preseason AP top 5 team since 1980. And in the column, I said a couple of things. Number one, Michigan State is 330 in tempo. For a team that's guard-oriented, to be 330, a Big Ten team. Like Michigan State, even at their worst tempos before, it's still been inside the top 150. Tyson Walker, his numbers speak for themselves. But nothing about this team has been consistent. And you guys said it earlier on After Dark that on the interior, they're just not getting enough. Xavier Booker hasn't panned out. This top 5 freshman class, and that was kind of my argument. Like, should we see Izzo do a little more with Cohen Carr or Jeremy Fears? Because right now it feels like what he's getting on the upperclassmen is plateauing, if it is even the same. This team just has been bad, and they've got to do something to adjust. And I think for a team that offensively struggles, Michigan State has got to figure out a way to accelerate their pace to get some easy baskets. So that's what I wrote about today and tried to find some solutions for this team. But, Mac, you sort of said it earlier. Like, they are who they are in the front court, which is why my argument was, Mac, I think the Spartans are best off going smaller. Because right now when they're on offense, it feels like 4-on-5.
Yeah, that's a hard ask in the Big Ten, as you know. They're going to box you in. They're going to, and I don't mean Michigan State. I mean their competition. They're going to walk the ball up. They're going to throw it inside. You play at West Lafayette. You play Purdue at home. Like small's going to be a relatively tough answer. I know Malik Hall is a very versatile player, but Izzo doesn't play any zone. I don't see Malik Hall guarding a lot of the centers in that league as much as he would be a nightmare for centers to guard him. I still think that you're asking a whole lot. They got to get more out of their center position. They've got to get more out of the perimeter. I was really surprised, John, about their pace because I know in playing them throughout the years, the first thing you talk about is even after a made field goal for your team, you have to get on your horse and get back and establish your defense because his teams have been famous for inbounding as quickly as they can, pushing it as fast as they possibly can to try to get something in transition. And if they didn't get it, pull it out and run their typical set. Izzo's got about 100 of them. So just an odd team that had great expectations coming into the year. I'm still an Izzo believer. I mean, proven that time and time again. But right now, I certainly don't see it against Baylor, and I think they're going to be up against it all
year. Yeah, and just to piggyback on Coach, I know we got to go to break, but like they have also always been such a good executing team, and they just look out of sorts, out of sync, like coming out of timeout, side out of bounds, underneath out of bounds. Tom Izzo's teams have always – there's 1,000 things you got to prepare for as a head coach or an assistant coach preparing for Michigan State, and they don't seem to have that same level of execution. So something's off. And Hogard, he's got to figure it out because you're talking about a guy that was, an almost all league player last year, third team, whatever he was. So he's a guy that they got to get going.
It's last call on Stadium. John Fanta, Chris Mack, Matt McCall with you until about 12:30 a.m. on the East Coast. We're taking your questions on YouTube. Get your questions in. We want to hear from you. Trev asks, Matt McCall, what is going on with Draymond Green, who was suspended indefinitely today by the NBA?
I don't know, man. I think the Warriors in general is this the end of an era? Is it over for them? Steph Curry is still playing the game at a level of an MVP candidate. Klay Thompson looks a little bit out of sorts. I like think about this, and I was talking to someone about this earlier. Did they make the wrong move in terms of getting rid of Jordan Poole and putting, basically siding with Draymond Green and that whole deal? I don't know. He's such a good player that impacts the game in so many different ways, but these things keep happening, and these videos they post on social media of all of his antics, it's a lot to process. So I don't know what you make of it. I think that and even his comments after the game, last night was, I didn't intentionally to hit him. That's why I apologized. You know me, you guys know me in terms of my intentions. If I, feel a certain way, I'll let you know, or I'm not going to apologize. But I apologize because I know I hit him. And you're sitting there like, what is this guy talking about? And
Yeah.
Steve Kerr, I mean, what a run they've had, but I mean, he's got to be sitting there scratching his head too.
Yep. I mean, it's gone to a point of no return. Like when you're suspended by a league indefinitely, come on. Do you know how much it has to take for that to happen for a pro athlete? In terms of these incidents. The amazing thing is, these are all happening on the floor within the course of a game. He didn't get involved with something off the court. He can't control himself on the basketball court. I mean, he is the 2023 Dennis Rodman. Right or wrong?
Yeah, you know what? Too, I remember watching him in college. Like, I'll never forget this. We were getting ready to play in the Elite Eight. We had beaten Marquette in the Sweet 16, so we're getting ready to play in the Elite Eight. And Louisville, under Coach Pitino, is playing against Michigan State, and Draymond Green was on that team. And I remember scouting the game. They put the ball in his hands. They're running all these action. I never really saw it when he was in college. All the antics. It's almost like he's turned into this guy. In the NBA of this boy. I don't know what Coach thinks, but that's when he was in college and that Michigan State teams that he was on, they were talking about an executing team. Those guys were high level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think that he certainly looks like Dennis Rodman when Dennis Rodman especially was coming to his last days in the NBA. But Draymond's still playing really well when he's playing. Um, almost feel like he should have been playing in the '80s. With everything they let go then. I mean, guys could get in fights and they would just sort of separate him and then say, "All right, come back in." They may assess a technical. I mean, Larry Bird's throwing haymakers and still playing the game. So, obviously you can't do that stuff today. I think Draymond's got a little bit big for his britches. He's had a tremendous career, but he's starting to tarnish it here down the stretch with some of his antics. And I hope that he gets the help he needs. It seems like that's what's been mandated. So I'm hopeful it helps him.
Yeah. I mean, I am too. It's a crazy situation. I mean, that's for sure. Hey, we got a great one. Is this Saturday the best non-tournament slate? This comes from Stadium. Okay? This Saturday is the best non-March Madness schedule of games that I think we've ever seen, guys. I mean, it's absolutely incredible to think that we're going to get number 1 Arizona versus number 3 Purdue in Indianapolis, number 9 North Carolina versus number 14 Kentucky in the CBS Sports Classic. Elsewhere, we've got Clemson taking on Memphis on the road. We've got number 6 Baylor taking on Michigan State and Detroit. We've got number 2 Kansas going to Assembly Hall to meet Indiana. Ohio State is playing UCLA. It is unbelievable how many good games there are across the country in college basketball this Saturday. Cancel your plans. If you were going to holiday shop this weekend, forget about it. Put it off till Sunday at least. But I'm going to tell you what, this slate this Saturday is a grab the popcorn, sit down by the fire, and just watch college hoops. It is an unbelievable slate.
Yeah, me and Coach, we don't need the fire. We live down in Florida, okay? So it doesn't get cold enough down here for us to do. I mean, it's the best
popcorn ever by the fire watching college basketball.
Exactly.
Well, that's my love story. That's my love story. Is sitting by the fire.
So, Fanta, that's what you're going to be doing on Saturday? You're going to be sitting by the fire, eating popcorn and watching hoops?
Well, that's what I do most days. But on Saturday, I'm actually going to be at the Garden calling Fordham and St. John's on FS1.
Good game. Who do you like in that game?
I think it'll be competitive. I mean, hey, I'm calling the game. I don't make a prediction. Okay. Yeah, you can't pick it. Come on, you can't pick a team. I'm doing Kirk Herbstreit here. You can't pick a team when you're calling the game. All right. Kyle asks, what unranked team currently could make a March run? Good question, Kyle. What unranked team? I'm going to give you mine while you guys are thinking. Memphis. Yeah. I mean, they just got Naquan Tomlin. They're deep. They've got a balanced backcourt. They're going to be physical. They defend their tails off. I think Javon Quinterly is settled in. I'm going to go with the Memphis Tigers. I think when we're talking unranked teams, that's a team that I believe could have a redemption story after coming oh so close, McCall, to beating FAU last year, but they didn't.
Nick Boyd hits the layup to beat them in that situation. I mean, I like South Carolina. I like what Lamont Paris is doing. I know they lost to Clemson, but I think Coach Paris is doing some great things out there. They went out to the Arizona tip-off. They beat Grand Canyon, who I think is really, really good. I like the balance that they have on their team. I like, everything about, I think the SEC, when you look at the SEC in terms of top tier, I think Tennessee is the cream of the crop. And I think, Kentucky's right there. Texas A&M has shown some signs. Obviously Arkansas under Muss-Bus, but I like South Carolina. I like what Coach Paris is doing there.
Yeah, John, I really like the Memphis Tigers as well. I also throw in another team representing the A-10 with the St. Joe's Hawks.
All right. A team out of the A-10 there, St. Louis. More of your questions in our last segment of Last Call up next. Welcome back to Last Call on Stadium. We're taking your questions here as we wrap up the night in college basketball. Wild night. Chicago State beats Northwestern. It's Chicago State's best non-conference win ever. Incredible win. UNLV beats number 8 Creighton. Creighton just didn't look the part tonight. They didn't have it, and they got beat. Running Rebels just beat them. And like you said, for Coach Kruger, what a moment for the Kruger family here this evening, man. McCall and Louisville lost to Arkansas State. So it just goes to show you don't know what you're going to get in college hoops. That's why we're on with you every night at 11 with After Dark and at midnight with Last Call. All right, let's move quickly. We take all your questions. Our next question comes from Brady. So Brady asks, will DePaul make a change with Tony Stubblefield? We take all your questions. Brady, I'll answer this one. If DePaul does not show upward signs, and beating Louisville is not an upward sign, then they're going to have to make a change. So I think that this is the year where Stubblefield had to do some things to progress the program. That has not happened to this point at all. I don't think anything happens in season, but they're going to have to show something in the Big East, which is going to be a bear. And there might have to be change in Chicago again. Let's go to Jimmy. Good question from Jimmy Mack. Jimmy asks, what was Chris Mack's favorite win as a coach?
Favorite win? Man, I'll say there are a lot of them, but we beat Arizona in 2017, I think, to go to the Elite Eight. We were down, I think, 8 points going into the last TV timeout. That was a tough moment to be down 8, but our guys sort of stuck with it, and to get to the Elite Eight and be one game away from the Final Four, that was one I'll remember for a while.
McCall, your favorite win ever?
I mean, it has to be when I was at Chattanooga and we beat ETSU to go to the NCAA tournament. It was the best experience with a great team led by Eric Robertson, who tragically passed away a couple of years ago. That team was special. Trey McClain, Greg Pryor, E-Rob, Justin Toyo, Chuck Esther, Casey Jones, Duke Etheridge, and to win it, it was a 9:00 game in Asheville, North Carolina. Everybody asked me, what do I think of Asheville, North Carolina? I said, it's the greatest city I've ever been to because it's one of the greatest memories I've ever had. And, my wife was there, and I'll never forget late in the game, everybody's celebrating. I'm still pacing the sidelines because I know the game's not over. And the only person that was calm was my wife sitting right behind the bench because she knew it wasn't over too. So I mean, I was to do it at a place like Chattanooga. I mean, I'll never forget that, man, for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. Great memories by both you guys. I love it. So here's a great question from Chris: Is Joe Flacco an elite quarterback? Now I am going to be self-deprecating here. So in 6 games, in 6 whole games played, Deshaun Watson threw for 7 touchdown passes. 7. Joe Flacco in 2 games as the Cleveland Browns quarterback has thrown for 5. So Matt McCall, is he elite?
Fanta, you got to know me, okay? My dad was a middle linebacker at the University of Florida. All right, so I've been more of a college football guy than ever an NFL guy. I grew up in Ocala,
yes.
Florida, so there was no like NFL, like the closest NFL team was either the Jaguars or the Bucks. And when I was growing up, neither one were very good. So I don't really have a dog in the fight. So I really don't want to get in the middle of this argument between you and Coach Mack. I really don't. I don't. I'm going to plead the fifth on this one. Okay. I'm going to stay out and plead the fifth. I just know that Deshaun Watson whole deal has not been a super positive one for your Cleveland Browns. And I got to be honest, I'm a Joey Burrow guy. I love him.
Oh.
SEC guy, played at LSU. I love him. I'm kind of siding with Mac on this one.
Come on, man. You can't say, is he elite? I mean, I don't even think you could say, was he elite? But you certainly can't say, is he elite?
Hey, here's
you just got to hope that he keeps the ship afloat so you can make the playoffs and win a game or 2.
Here's one thing we got in common, Mac. The Steelers are going down the drain. So Sean Miller can cry his tears. All right, last question comes from Trev. Trev asks, apparently you guys have been asked this before. How would I survive a bear attack?
Oh my gosh.
So
we keep talking about this because Tyler Hansborough apparently can fight a bear. I mean that's what this question.
Tyler was saying no. He is not fighting. And Douster prefaced the question by saying, if your life depended on it, and he said, no, I won't fight. I won't fight.
I would fight it. Do you think I'd win?
You have to fight it. No, you get your head mauled off, but you got to do it.
Use that Cleveland Browns hat and just try to smack it. Just use the Browns hat and just try to smack it. Hopefully he takes the brown hat.
That was pretty honest from Chris Mack. That's why we're partners.